Turn with me, if you would, to Matthew. Matthew chapter 12, verse 34. Matthew chapter 12, verse 34. I like the way that Jesus begins to speak even in this text, because we start this text with Jesus' response to their behavior, to the audience's behavior, to certain members of the audience's behavior. He says, "Oh, generation of vipers." Y'all didn't think Jesus talked like that, right? "Oh, generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil?" I don't want to teach a judgment word, but isn't that something that Jesus called for evil? Anyway. "Oh, generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. A good man out of the treasure of his heart." Not just any treasure, but a good treasure. "But a good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth things." Not just any kind of things, but good things. "And an evil man out of the evil treasure." There's good treasure and there's evil treasure. That's interesting, isn't it? Because it's interesting what different people call treasure. Let me keep moving. "An evil man out of the evil treasure bring forth evil things." Hold that in mind, and I want to read you one more verse. Romans chapter 8, verse 5. Romans chapter 8, verse 5 says this: "For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit." You can take your seats. I want to give you your message entitlement for part 6 of response, and the entitlement is this: inside out. Inside out. Somebody say inside, out. Watch this. Response acts as a material witness from within. A material witness is used to provide credible and vital, I say vital, evidence in a trial case. So a material witness, when you're trying to prove something one way or another, you're going to try and find somebody that doesn't have just a piece of it, but has a good portion of it. Amen. So you're looking for a material witness so that either you can be proven innocent, or if you're on the other side of it, you're trying to prove something guilty. So you need a material witness that does this, a credible witness. A material witness is credible. How more credible a witness than your conduct?
All right.
Your conduct is a credible witness.
Yes, it is.
Because your conduct will tell me where you're coming from.
Amen.
Because even if you're acting fake, it's still telling me where it's coming from. Does that make sense? So the text says abundance. Somebody say abundance. When we were dealing in Matthew chapter 12, verse 34, it says, out of the abundance of the heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So the text says abundance, but it does not say entirety. The text says out of the abundance of your heart is where you speak from, not the entirety of your heart. How many know that you can be saved and you still have some other things in your heart?
All right.
Oh, come on now.
That's so true.
I'm not talking about a double mind. I'm saying that there's some things that are also in your heart, because even though you might have set your heart to come and worship God, there are other things on your heart that you may have somebody that is sick that you know of, and they're on your heart. So the worship ain't the only thing in your heart. You might have somebody else on your heart, because every time I say, you know, sometimes when we give the contrast, we always automatically go to the wicked side of things, but it's not always wicked. Sometimes it's just something else. Amen. But he said it's out of the abundance of your heart that the mouth speaks. So what is abundantly in your heart is a question that you're going to tell us by your conduct. You're going to tell us what's going on with you eventually by the way that you act, by the way that you conduct yourself, or the way that your conversation leads. Yes. Does that make sense? Your conduct or your conversation will tell us what's on the inside of you. Get this, whatever dominates our heart will dictate our response. Whatever dominates our heart will dictate our response. It's not the entirety, it's what's dominating you.
All right.
It's what has control of you. If you are letting depression dominate you, then that's what you're going to speak. You're going to speak that out because that's what's dominating you. If you truly have God as the head of your life, then what comes out of your mouth is going to be praise. What comes out of your mouth is going to be worship, because that's what's dominating. That's what has dominion in your life. Amen. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what has dominion in your heart? The reason why we speak negativity is because at that point in time, that is what's dominating us. So every time negativity falls out of your mouth, you let that dominate you. You let that reign in your life. Do you understand what I'm telling you? You have the choice of who you let and what you let reign in your heart. Say, that's my choice. That's under my control. Do you know that God will not force himself upon you? Amen. He will not force himself upon you, so you have to lean not to your own understanding. You got to lean to his, because it's not about your understanding. Your understanding is not the issue. The issue is when you start leaning to your own understanding, that becomes an issue. Anybody try to do it themselves? Every time I don't know about you, I can't talk about you because I ain't in your life. Every time I've tried to do it by myself, I keep messing it up. That's right, that's right, that's right. Come on. Now, I don't think that I'm a slow individual. I don't think that, you know, that I'm remedial in any sense. Well, sometimes I am. My wife might tell you different. But I don't think that I'm remedial in any sense. But every time I've tried to do something my way, it just doesn't seem to work out right. But when I just let go and let God, as we say, and I really have to let go. When you say let go and let God, you can't still have your hands on it. Amen. Does that make sense? Because we'll say let go and let God. Now we'll say let go and let God, and our body will show that we've let go and let God, but our soul has a clutch on it. Does that make sense? Because truth be told, you know, y'all know we really just want control at the end of the day. We want to be able to control everything. We don't want to surrender. We want to control. See, this is how when you get a relationship with God, you start surrendering, because you realize that you were never in control. Your emotions were in control. Your attitude was in control. Your agenda was in control. Does that make sense? Amen. And so whatever dominates our heart will dictate our response. That's inside out for you. Response is a direct reflection of what has precedence inside of us. Let me add to that. Response is a direct reflection of what has precedence inside of us. It's what's present at that time. Does that make sense? The reason why you blew up at that person is because that's what you allowed to take precedence. Does that make sense? Because it's interesting to me that in the same chapter, in the same story, we have Peter who just caught revelation. So he's standing, oh God, I don't have to give him the parts of it. So he's standing in certain company. And he catches revelation. But then another company comes around, and the same individual who caught revelation in one set of company catches rebellion in another set of company. Because when they come to arrest Jesus, all of a sudden the devil is using Peter. The very same individual who caught revelation is now acting out in rebellion. Not only acting out in rebellion in the sense that the devil is literally using him. That's why Jesus says, get thee behind me, Satan. Right? Not only is Satan using him, but he's also rebelling against what Jesus has taught him. Jesus has to tell him, have you ever seen me act like this? He's actually talking to the soldiers, but he's talking to Peter at that point too, right? He's like, have you ever seen me? I never came with violence. Why y'all come with y'all swords drawn? Why y'all come acting like I'm some dangerous man? You've never seen me act this way, so why are you coming at me as if I'm some kind of militant? I am not Barabbas. I'm not the other son of the Father. You understand what I'm telling you? So I'm not Barabbas. I don't know why y'all coming at me like this. And why are you acting like this, Peter? It's because there are a couple things, and I'll get into this a little bit. There are a couple things that influence our conduct. All right? There are a couple things that influence our conduct that cause us to respond in different ways. You have company, you have the clock, and you have the climate. You have company, you have the clock, and then you have climate. Certain company makes you act a certain way.
Okay.
Listen.
Certain times make you act a certain way. When you're in a rush, you act differently than when you think you have time.
Right.
When there's certain temperatures, I don't like being cold, so I kind of get, I may be a little grumpy when I'm cold because I don't like being cold. Right? The season folk, they already know when it's cold because their bodies start acting different. So your conduct changes with the climate. Young folk too. Okay, young folk be like, man, what you talking about? That's why you get hot and bothered. Never mind.
Okay, all right. Come on.
All right.
I'll teach that at another time. But did you get what I'm telling you?
Yes.
Every response conveys appraisal. Every response conveys appraisal. Your response will tell me where your values are at that time. Does it make sense? Every response conveys appraisal. Either it's dominant or it's dormant. What's dominant or what's dormant? Does that make sense? So what is dominating you or what is dormant in you? Or what is dead to you? We'll add another one. Because it's either dominant, it's dormant, or it's dead. You won't respond to a dead thing or whatever you allow to die. You may respond to something that is dormant, but you will respond to that which is dominant. Does that make sense? Let me ask you a question, church. What's dominating your heart? What has dominion in your heart? Why do we continue to conduct ourselves in a certain manner? You with me so far? Because he said it's out of the abundance of your heart. What's dominating you? What is mostly there? Not the other stuff. It's not that he didn't say don't be angry, right? He said be angry and sin not. Don't let the anger that you felt in this moment dominate your heart.
All right. Yeah.
Because if it dominates you, then you're going to demonstrate it.
All right. Yeah. That's good.
That makes sense? Because whatever dominates you, you yield to. Right?
Amen.
If it's done, you yield. Right? So if Christ is dominating my life, then I yield to him and I don't have no problem when I yield to Christ.
Amen.
My issue is when I start yielding to evil. When I start yielding to the pressure. When I start yielding to what peers say and think about me. That's when the issue comes in. That makes sense? I had a question, and the question is, why would we expect for God to defend us if we reject his counsel? We want God to come to our defense.
Yeah.
But we reject his counsel. Amen? I was reading this adage, and this adage is that people vote with their feet. And what that means is that when people don't agree with something, they leave. People vote with their feet, and so what will happen is if you don't agree with God, you'll hide from Him, or you'll run from Him. Adam hid, right? The prophet ran, right? So that's what happened. When you vote with your feet, you'll leave that, because once you're solid with something, you're going to stand right there and you're going to walk with that person. You're not going to try and get around them. Does that make sense to everybody? So how can we expect God to keep defending us, and we're saying, okay, God, we're not even allowing you to have dominion. How can you plead your case when you won't even let them sit and counsel you? That makes sense? Oh, that makes sense to everybody. To respond is to answer. To respond is to answer. Response is what response does. Right? God, good brings good. Evil brings evil out of the abundance of the heart. And so response is conduit. Response is the conduit of manifestation. Y'all understand? Response is the conduit of manifestation. My response is going to manifest something. Even if it's mental, it's going to still manifest something, right? It's going to manifest the mind change. But do you get what I'm saying? So it's my response is how things are going to manifest. So my response to God should manifest. Never mind. My response to God should manifest somewhere. If I'm responding to God, then whatever comes out of my mouth should manifest that. If I have confidence in God, my confidence in God, then it ought to show that I have confidence in God, even when I don't have confidence in myself. But see, if I'm not leaning to my own understanding, you'll never think that I have self-esteem issues. Never mind. I can't have self-esteem issues because it wasn't about me in the first place. Does that make sense? I'm not worried about how people look at me and what people think about me. It's a difficult place to get, and sometimes even if you are one of those people who are not readily affected by other people's opinions, you will be sometimes affected by it. About what's going on. You can try and be as dumb as you want to, but eventually something's going to touch that nerve. And that's when I say, okay, I've got to not lean to my own understanding. I've got to make sure that I'm responding like God would want me to respond to this. And the way that God wants me to respond is not always the way that I would naturally respond. That makes sense? Manifestation is a harvest of time and or heart. Manifestation is a harvest of time and or heart. For any harvest to yield fruit, there must first be a what? Seed. There has not only be seed, but it has to be good ground. Or it has to be ground deep enough to get caught in. So one way or another, the seed is going to catch. Does that make sense? Okay. For the pregnancy to work, the seed has to catch. For the fruit to be brought forth, the seed has to catch. That's why I said, you know, when you sow on rocky soil, it doesn't really work because it'll get ate up because it doesn't have anything to dig into. I can give you all the seed I want to, but until it catches in you, it's not going to do anything. One way or another. Does that make sense? So, manifestation is a harvest of time in our heart. So whatever is in your heart is what's going to manifest. But here's how this is why we got to be, we have to understand seasons in depthly, because seasons are not always relegated to natural time. That makes sense? Because it takes so many months for most harvests or for a natural harvest to occur. But here's the thing about it. If you allow somebody to sow something into your heart, you can spit out fruit the very next moment. Because it's what that person said to you at that moment that set you off.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Or at least it finally made that fruit come out. Because truth be told, it's not a whole lot of things when somebody can say something to you right off the bat and get you angry. It's usually because you was already on the edge anyway. And you was looking for an excuse. And what that event did was push you over the edge. What that did was what that did was tip the scales. You know, a grain of salt will tip the scales. So what's mostly in you? You trying to say you got no God, but if somebody drop 1 ounce of negativity in you, all of a sudden you out of balance.
Yes.
Wow.
That means that God won't really dominate. You understand what I'm saying? If 1 grain can shift your life, like, come on now.
Amen.
Why do you think that he says we'll deal with that? Why do he says if you have faith the size of a mustard seed? Because all I need is enough to tip the scales. Oh, come on, church. All I need is enough to tip the scales in your faith. That's it, or against you. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So response is the answer. Good brings good, evil brings evil. Out of the abundance of the heart. Everybody good? The question is, how should the believer respond? How should the believer respond to the word? Well, how do we respond to the word? With our obedience by faith. How do I respond to the word? I obey. Now, there's a lot of different things that go into that, but basically, if I just do what God told me to do, that's how I respond. That's how believers should respond. In obedience, with our obedience by faith. Amen? How do I respond in worship? I respond in worship with what? Spirit and in truth. Because he told me what he was looking for. I don't have to guess what would Jesus, I don't have to guess what Jesus would do. I have a Bible that tells me what he did. That makes sense? What does God want? God wants my worship to be for real.
Amen.
Does that make sense? So, how do we respond in worship? With truth? With the spirit of truth, right? In spirit and truth, by faith. To purpose. How do I respond to purpose? Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. More interesting. Is that how do I respond to purpose? I respond to purpose with pursuit.
That's good.
And I feel some questions. Well, what if I don't know my purpose? I'm telling you how to respond even when you don't know what it is.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
And I'm going to give you a little backup. I'm going to tell you what you need. I don't understand what my purpose is quite yet. All you got to do is start pursuing.
Amen.
Does that make sense? Because sometimes all you have is go. How will you respond when God says, go? If you stand still, then you're working in rebellion. But I don't have enough information. You had all the information that you needed. Go is a powerful word. Go tells you not to stand still. Go means to literally move your position. Does that make sense? What should I be doing? Let me tell you, let me help your whole life. Go. Go where? Wherever he said.
All right.
But I don't know where that is. That's okay. Just keep going. Because he's going to build you on the way. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
He's going to build you on the way. Somebody said he's going to build me on the way. Get this, prevailing behavior will be consistent with commitment. Prevailing behavior will be consistent with commitment. However, I consistently behave, it's going to prove some things. Prevailing behavior will be consistent with commitment. What am I committed to? Because in other words, because consistency and commitment go hand in hand. That makes sense? I can't be committed if I don't have consistency. I cannot be committed if I do not have consistency. If you cannot be consistent, then you are not committed. Point blank, period.
Yes, sir.
You have to be consistent. Being consistent builds that commitment. They go hand in hand. That makes sense? So my behavior, my prevailing behavior, in other words, the thing that I do consistently, predominantly, most times, that is what will be consistent with my commitment. If I keep doing what God says to do, I'm committed to him. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be perfect. That doesn't mean the sense of perfect that we have, which is flawlessness. All right? I've taught many times that actually the Hebraic understanding of perfection is completion. Right? A lot of us want to be perfect, but we don't want to finish anything.
That's good.
Yeah, I know that's one of my things that I live with all the time. We're very startup. We love conception. Hello, somebody. We love conception. We love inception. We like conception and we like inception. And we love graduation.
Yeah.
But in between that time, there's meantime. What do you do with the meantime? Breaking up the fallow ground may be hard work for a couple days. Right? But after that ground is broke, you won't have to re-break it. Hello, somebody.
Amen.
You don't have to say, once the ground is broken. No, you need to receive this for your life. Say, once the ground is broken, I don't have to re-break it. You can sow now. Once you sow, until it's time for that seed to be sown again, you don't have to sow that seed again. Once you've sown that seed, you sown that seed. There ain't no re-sowing it. You can even remove the plant, but you ain't re-sowing the seed. Does that make sense? So the seed, say the seed is sown. So now, my next point for most of us, my next point of excitement comes when I get the fruit. But it's got to grow. It's got to mature. It's got to bud. All that good stuff that goes in the meantime. And that's why I become consistent at it.
All right.
Because I've got to be a consummate gardener. I've got to prune, I've got to cut, I've got to clean weeds, I've got to water it constantly. Right? It's easy to see. It's easy to see. You understand? That's why we got so many single mothers out here, because it's easy to see. What's difficult, what takes consistency, what takes commitment, is cultivation. You understand what I'm telling you? So God is saying in your response, yes, go ahead, break up the fallow ground. Don't sow amongst the thorns. That's wonderful. Yes, come on, bring forth the fruit. Yeah, out of the good abundance. I'm going to talk about the good. Out of the good treasures of your heart, then you'll yield good things. But for that yield to come, sometimes it's going to take you some time. Does it make sense? And in that time, you've got to be consistent. You've got to be consistently going out and making sure that that field looks the way it's supposed to look. That you're keeping the rodents out, that you're keeping the insects out. Most of us want to befriend rodents and insects.
Come on.
And whatever you accommodate will become your company.
That's good.
Consistent response breeds consistent culture. Consistent response breeds consistent culture. As for me and my house, y'all know how Joshua got down. As for me and my house, we will do what? I'm telling you what's going to happen if you come into my environment. If you come into my environment has a certain culture. As for me in my house, I control this culture. You control the culture of your house. If your house is in shambles, that's because you're letting it happen.
Come on.
You control the culture of your house. Do you understand me? I'm talking to the grown folks. You control the culture of your house. You rule that place, or you get ruled in that place.
Amen.
There is no way I'm getting ruled in my own house. That ain't got nothing to do with machoism. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because me and my wife are one, so I ain't got to figure out who wear the pants. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. Because I'm smarter than her and a whole bunch of stuff. But man, she's smarter than me and a whole bunch of stuff. And instead of fighting each other over who's the smartest, why don't we use your smarts in your area of expertise? I use my smarts in my area of expertise. We do this thing as one, and then we might actually get somewhere. How you got a crab mentality in your marital situation? I don't want to get in that vein, but I'm serious. How y'all got a crab mentality in y'all married? Y'all keeping each other down. That don't even make no sense. Trying to prove who's who. Right. Anyway, let me get back over here to the text. I'm just. But me and my house, we must understand response can be learned, improved, or canceled. Response can be learned, improved, or canceled. We know faith coming by hearing. Y'all know that, right? Faith coming by hearing and hearing by the word of God. And we also know that without faith, it is impossible to please God, right? It's impossible to please Him. So response can form, shift, and transcend both culture and environment. Let me say that again. Response can form, shift, and transcend both culture and environment. And faith is the proper medium to accomplish this. So I say again, how should the believer respond to word? With our obedience, by faith. In worship, with truth, and with spirit and truth, by faith. To purpose, with pursuit, by faith. That makes sense to everybody now? So, case in point, we have Matthew chapter 21, verses 19 through 22. I won't read it, but follow me here. That Jesus saw that the fig tree was unfit. The fig tree was unfit because it did not respond. And because it did not respond, it was canceled.
All right.
Let me tell you one more time. Because the fig tree did not respond, it was canceled. The fig tree, if it had a voice, might have said something like this, but it's not my season. I'm not looking for your season all the time. The Lord is not looking for your season all the time. He's looking for your obedience.
All right.
All the time.
Yes, sir.
Because it may not be your season, but you can still render obedience.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because when the master comes around, you produce fruit because he's there. Even if it ain't your season, pull on him. Does that make sense? Pull on him. Not just an inanimate object, but do you get the principle of what I'm telling you? Is that because the fig tree did not respond to Christ, it was canceled. You hear what I'm telling you? It was canceled. I had to laugh a little bit when I thought about that a little bit. Because fig leaves just won't cut it in the kingdom.
Come on.
They didn't cut it in the beginning. They weren't cutting it when Jesus got there. Oh, all you got is some fig leaves? That's just not going to work. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Say the fig leaves won't work.
Won't work.
You need to have some fruit. You need to have some fruit whenever he asks for it. Get this also, that God not only builds by sound, he also clears by sound. You get it now. He doesn't just build by sound. He doesn't just say, let there be light. He also says, oh, because you didn't yield any fruit, may you never yield fruit again. And the text says, presently, the tree withered away. Now, we like to think about that with the tree, but y'all know that happened elsewhere too, right? There are some folks that lied on the Holy Ghost and thought that they was going to walk out of there. Now, God is a merciful God, and we ought to give God the glory for being a merciful God, and that he does not always respond to us in the way that we've retaliated against him. But don't keep pushing that button. I know there's a song that says, try Jesus, but some of y'all that get this, don't try him like that.
Come on.
You understand what I'm telling you? So, they tried the Holy Ghost, and they didn't leave the room the way they came. They came in on their feet. They left on their backs. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Both the husband and the wife trying to cover each other in a lie. Trying to cover up their lie. If you try to cover yourself in lies, then you will bury yourself.
Amen.
Amen.
The same passage in Matthew that we were looking at that says that mountains can be moved. Mountains can be moved just by faith. Verse 22, and all things, says this, in all things whatsoever he asks in prayer, believing, he shall receive. So we see an instance of the cycle of reciprocation right here, right? Somebody say learn from this.
Learn from this.
Now I got another case in point. Hebrews 11:8. By faith, somebody say by faith.
By faith.
By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go. I'll let that sink in a little bit. What was Abraham's calling? To go. We want some complicated thing. We want some illustrious title. What was Abraham's title? We call him the follower of many nations. They ain't created that position in church yet. I mean, half the crazy stuff they come up with now, you never know. You might know it might be the follower of many apostles or some junk like that might come up. But, you know, I ain't seen nobody pull that one out yet. Nobody going after that title on the follower of many nations, right? Right? So what was he called? He was called to go. You try to put a name on it and you just need to be moving. How do I get in purpose? I need to just start moving towards him. God will just do whatever you say. Until I find out the next step.
All right.
I don't even know what my destination is, but I know who you are. Let me say that again. I don't even know what my destination is, but I know who you are.
Amen.
Does that make sense? Because sometimes we're so worried about where we're going to wind up that we forget to follow who's supposed to be leading us.
All right.
If I say I'm going to follow God, why am I worried about where I'm going to wind up? I'm with the Father. Well, we just got to know where we're going to go. Where are we going to go? I'm taking you to a promise. Where's the promise? I'm taking you to a promise. Well, where is it? I'm taking you there. But he can't take you somewhere where you don't want to go.
Amen.
He can't take you somewhere that you're fighting against.
All right.
Now, sometimes he'll be gracious as he did with Lot, snatch you up out of Sodom and Gomorrah. Amen. But you got to go. And I always look at that as a sad instance anyway. And then you don't know the whole, so it's just a sad thing because first God had to snatch you out of there. Somebody was so attached that they couldn't leave it. They couldn't let go. Right? So attached that they couldn't let go. And then you were so afraid of the higher place that you want to go to the place in the middle.
Wow. Yeah.
The little place, Zoar. You know what I'm saying? Take me to the little place. God was trying to take them up on the hill. He was trying to take them on the mountain. No, take me to the little place. I had to snatch you out of where you were in the first place, and now you don't even want to go to the... I was going to give you a promotion like the world had never even seen, and here you go telling somebody, I ain't ready. That makes sense? I want God to have to snatch me up out of it. I'm glad that he snatched me up out of some stuff, but some of the stuff instead of God snatching me out, why don't I just respond to him, church?
Amen.
Why don't I just respond to him? He was called to go out into a place. Ain't that something? Which he should after receive for an inheritance. Obeyed and went out, not knowing where he went. Somebody say inside out. Inside. Do you get it? What was said inside him, God is saying, you need to go. Okay, you said I need to go, so I can't stay here. I've got to take what you put inside of me and get out with it. God does not give you dreams so that they stay inside of your head.
All right.
Don't be talking some God gave me a book and you ain't writing nothing. It's got to get out. Because if you refuse to write it, then the abundance that's in your heart is to say that God didn't give it to me. The abundance that's in your heart is writer's block. That's what's in the abundance of your heart. Is writer's block instead of the cornerstone.
All right.
Do you understand what I'm telling you? I got writer's block. No, I don't have no writer's block. I have the chief cornerstone. And if he said that I'm supposed to write this thing, then I need to get to writing. If he said that I should be dancing, I need to get to dancing. If he said that I should be speaking, if I got to preach to my mirror.
Hello.
All right.
Jesus.
If I got to preach to myself, y'all think that I just come here Saturday morning and preach? I preach while I'm studying. To me.
Hello.
The husbandman must be first partaker of the man. Y'all think I'm just saying some stuff.
No.
Last case in point, Galatians 3:24 through 25 says this, that wherefore the law was our school schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that it might be just that we might be justified by faith. But after that faith is come, we are no longer under a schoolmaster. I told you that response can form, shift, and transcend both culture and environment. When Abraham decided to respond to God, he was shifting his culture.
All right.
Because his father's house had one kind of culture. And isn't it like God to be like, I'm not trying to get you to change your father's culture. I need you to change yours, and then maybe yours will change his. And so what happens is that God speaks to Abraham. He doesn't say this in the text, you ain't going to find it like this, but you got to hear me by the Spirit. He's telling Abraham, Abraham, if I'm going to make you the father of many nations, you can't have that culture. So I've got to shift your culture. And so sometimes when God is shifting us, God help me here, sometimes when God is shifting us, it feels like he's stripping us.
All right.
Why are you taking this away from me? Because I need to change your culture.
Okay.
The rich young man that came to him, he said, what do I need to do to be perfect? He said, give all your riches. Wow. And because he didn't want to be stripped, he went away sad. When God is transitioning you, sometimes it's going to feel like he's stripping you. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? He's stripping that culture away from him. He's stripping him from having a relationship or close relationship with his father, because now it's going to be distance. They ain't got cell phones like we have, you know. You're going to have to send a pigeon or a raven or something like that, you know what I mean? So it's going to change the dynamic of that relationship, because God says, I need you in a place where I can use you without that other influence. When God pulls you into a wilderness, it's because he's trying to strip your past culture.
Amen. Come on.
When God puts you in the wilderness, it's because he's trying to... The reason why they couldn't get out of the wilderness is because they wouldn't leave the culture.
Amen.
That's why they were in that cycle. They wouldn't leave the culture. The minute that they left Egypt, what did they do? They made an idol. They couldn't leave the culture. Does that make sense what I'm telling you? But this is what response can do. It can form, it can create it, it can shift you and transcend you. It says when you get this faith, when you get this, after this faith, that's what the text says, right? After this faith. Somebody say after this faith. Look, you're getting faith right now. After this faith, you should not be under some stuff that you were under just before you walk through that door. I shouldn't have a lack of response anymore. I shouldn't be so slow in my response anymore. When God tells me to do something, even if I haven't figured it out, I just need to start moving. That makes sense? Because again, we want to put everything in the algorithm. We want to have a formula for everything, and sometimes God will just give you this. Go. And you've got to go until you get your next set of instructions. Please hear me when I tell you. You've got to go until you get your next set of instructions. Abraham was told this. He was told this, that you're going to be the father of many nations. Do you not think that Abraham was not trying to seed for them 10 years before he had the Hagar incident? Did you not think that they did not know the process of how to have child? Do you not think that they had been married for some time? They're like 65 and 75 leaving his father's house, right? You don't think that they knew how to seed? I'm just being honest with your audience. Come on now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right.
But that process wasn't working the way that they thought. Because Abraham was like, my seed ain't catching.
Yeah. Come on.
So let me put my seed somewhere where it'll catch.
All right.
And it caught in Hagar because he worked the principle. But God never recognized the principle over the promise.
All right.
Let me say that again. God will never recognize a principle over a promise. God sets principles in order. Do you understand that? But he would not, a principle has a higher priority. I mean, a promise has a higher priority than a principle. Do you understand what I'm telling you? The principle worked. Say the principle.
Principle
worked. Broke up the fallow ground, sold whatever, right? Boom, child, seed worked. Right? Have been trying all that other time, but now you just know God moved on your behalf.
All right.
Because it worked this time.
That's good.
It worked this time. This got to be God. This got to be God. No. No. That wasn't the ground that I told you. Amen?
Amen.
Sometimes you got to get in the same place that's been buried for years. It's going to seem like you're crazy. But you got to go on the word that you heard last.
Amen.
Because sometimes we say, God says something else. God's like, I've already told you what I'm going to do. You're going to be the father of many nations. Well, let me try to figure. No. I told you what I'm going to do. And you just have to keep going. Going where? Just keep going.
Come on.
You mean I got to keep doing the same thing over and over and over? How much of a failure do you think Sarah feels like? Woo!
Wow.
How many years did Sarah feel herself? And think about how much more she felt herself as a failure after Hagar.
All right.
She the one that offered up Hagar, right?
Come on.
And now think about how she feels. Not only did I fail in being able to provide my husband with a son, but I failed in the fact that I let this thing become his wife. Woo!
Come on.
And again, see what I'm saying? Whatever you accompany will become your company. She's trying to treat her like a servant. And Abraham allows her to. He said, isn't she yours? But that's his wife.
Ah. Come on.
Never mind. He lets her deal with her that way. She said, isn't she yours? Do you understand what I'm saying? And so then they keep trying. And y'all act like after Hagar, everything was going to get done. No, you didn't think they had some marital issues? They couldn't look at each other for a little bit because they know they had both messed up. Because she can't look at him sideways because she told him. But she's still looking at him sideways because she's like, I can't believe you did it. Ain't that how we respond? You give somebody permission and then we mad and then you use it. Hello, church. Don't give them permission and then be mad when they use it.
All right.
Baby girl, if you let him, you can't be mad with the results.
Amen.
Homeboy, if you let yourself, you can't be mad with the results.
All right.
Come on. Come on.
She ain't nothing but you do that when you lay down with her. Matter of fact, that's why you did it.
Yeah. Wow.
Because you thought it was going to be easy. Never mind. Baby mama drama, you sold that. Now reap.
Thank you.
My thing is whoever's fault who, didn't you have to lay down? Oh, never mind. If they don't, then how dumb are you? Never mind. I just never understand that because we always want to point the finger. How dumb were you? You weren't so wise then, was you? Either one. Back to my subject at hand. Y'all know that y'all happens. That makes sense? That's the inside out, right? What was in you that let that out? Hello? I said that's that hot and bothered, right? You was hot and bothered. Now you hot and bothered. Right? It's a different hot and bothered now. Like you temperature man hot. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Yeah. Y'all all right? Oh man. Faith is the response. Faith is a response that pleases God. Amen. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. How do I please God? With my faith.
Yes.
I'm trying to answer some questions because someone was like, well, what do I do? What is God looking for? They that worship Him. God is looking for those who worship, because the Father is looking for such. What is the such? Those that worship Him in spirit and in truth. I know what He's looking for. I know that favor is found in His sight, so maybe if I get in His sight, I can find some favor.
Amen.
Right? What can I do to please God? Have faith, because without faith it's impossible to please God. what faith does, again, it shifts you, right? And it strips you at the same time, right? Because the so-called sinner becomes saved with a confession.
Yes.
God strips the sin away from them, right? And brings them into his family.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It shifts their thinking. It shifts their conduct. Everything may not happen immediately, but if you stay consistent,
Yes.
and you stay committed, functional faith manifests the evidence of hearing by adherence with execution. Let me say that again. Functional faith manifests the evidence of hearing by adherence and with execution. Faith cometh by hearing, but faith without works is dead. I can't just hear the word of God, I've got to adhere to it. When I adhere to it, then I start executing it.
Yes.
Even if it's the simplest thing, go. And I know that I'm following the word of God when no matter what is happening in my life, I allow God to take precedence in my life.
Amen.
I don't say crazy stuff, not because I don't think crazy stuff, but that's not what's abundant in my heart. It's not that I don't feel aches and pains in my body. I just don't talk about it all the time because that's not what's abundant in my life. What is abundant in your life?
Come on.
Hallelujah.
Bring it on.
Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Inside out. Because if you're in a foul mood, you're going to produce foul things.
Thank you.
Yes.
You ever been to a restaurant and got bad service because the waiter had an attitude? Didn't matter how good that food was. You ain't even really want to eat it. You probably could barely taste it because like, your attitude's so nasty, I don't even want to eat it. Any of y'all that ever happened to you? How in the world your food tastes nasty, the food was probably good. But it messed up your taste buds because of how they, you know what I'm saying? Because what was inside of them got out on your food. I ain't talking about they did nothing crazy to it, but it got, right? It got out.
Oh my God.
It got out. And sometimes we don't understand why we can't witness effectively. Because what's inside of you is got out.
Yes.
Thank you. Right.
Or we love to think about the waiter and stuff, they got an attitude problem. Do you know what you are? You're a waiter. Hello, ministers. You are a servant. You're supposed to bring the people the food that's going to save their life. You're supposed to bring them the bread of life, but some of us got so much stuff inside of us. We're letting the evil treasures, be experienced by the audience instead of the good treasure. I'm not telling you you're not going to have some rough spots. I'm not telling you you may not have some Hagar incidents in your life. What I'm telling you is that don't worry about the Hagar. If Hagar incident is already happening, then you can do about it. Pray about it, ask God to best keep it moving. But what can you do from this time forward? I can respond. I can respond how God wants me to respond. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad, last thing, I'm so glad that God doesn't respond all the time in like kind.
Come on.
Do you understand? Because I told you response is what? Is in like kind, in accordance. You hear what I'm saying? In like kind, in accordance. Here's the in accordance part for God. Is that while we were yet sinners, his response was different. That's why he sets the standard. We can't respond to everybody how we feel like responding. Because imagine how God should have responded to while we were yet sinners. But while we were yet sinners, Christ died for the ungodly because he sets the standard of response. So you can't always respond to people how they respond to you. You've got to respond to them with the love of God. You've got to respond to them with mercy. The man that got mercy from his master didn't render mercy to his fellow servant. And that's why the person said, you know what, you wicked. You wicked and evil servant. You understand what I'm saying? So we cannot render to us what is always given to us. That makes sense? Sometimes we've always, the way that we respond is we respond by faith. Say, I got to respond.
I got to respond
By faith.
by faith.
That makes sense?
Amen.
That's what should be inside, out. My faith should be inside of me so that it manifests on the outside of me, so that I witness effectively. That makes sense? Give God praise all over this place.